Welcome back, YouTube, on this dreary rainy day, and the rain won't stop and neither will we. So we have the new Holland skid steer here, and I had a friend who mentioned that he thought the skid steer sounded a little bit odd in the previous videos, maybe like it had a bit of a knock. And we were already planning on doing some oil changes on it, so we're going to go ahead and hop to it, see if it sounds any different after it has the correct oil in it. At the time being, I got a filter that is compatible for this, but it's just a cheap filter. Assuming that the engine sounds better, or people on this video say, no, that's just how those old New Hollands sound, we'll go ahead and get a whole kit that has the air filter, the oil filter, the hydraulic filter, and I believe there was something else. Oh, the fuel filter was also included in that kit. So I just went ahead and got a cheap one for now so we can go through and do a drain and a flush and let everything happen. As promised, a pretty cheap Super Tech oil filter, which it'll do the job, and then we'll be replacing this very shortly, so that's perfectly fine. Looks like the oil drain bolt's down there, so let me get my pan and we will get that drain bolt out. I know I started off this video by saying the rain doesn't take a break and neither do we, but raining and trying to drain oil into a pan and keep water out of it, and then coming over here where I'm going to have my funnel coming up here into where the rain is, I'm realizing more and more how bad of an idea it is. Therefore, I am going to hold off on this, and I will catch up with you guys when I get a break in the rain in the next couple days. It's the next day and very dreary, but the weather app says no rain for 60 minutes, so let's see if we can knock out this oil change. This is a game of how much of a mess can I make. Actually, not that bad so far. I will clean this up before I put it back in. Not sure if that's magnetic, but I don't really feel any metal there. And it looks like it's draining out fairly well. Now that we're going to go ahead and fill through this hole, I was kind of worried about how to get the angle to get stuff down in there because you have your arm in the way and all that. At Tractor Supply, I did go ahead and get some adapters that should help us with this. So let's see what happens. So what I have is a long funnel, and then it's got a flexible piece on the bottom that I'm only using for the extra length, not the flex. And then I just held this up here in order to keep this higher than the other side as I'm pouring. And I'm going to have to pour slowly, but I think this will work. Let's see. This is going to be a slow effort, just with how slowly it's draining down this. This takes either 5.7 or 6.6 quarts, I believe. So I went ahead and grabbed 7 quarts to make sure that I would have enough for this. It's just to fill it, and I keep dripping over this side, so I'll have to see next time if there's a better way I can do this. And then watch it slowly go down and make sure we're not dripping out of any of those spots. Here's the slightly improved method. I went ahead and expanded that flexible piece, pulled this up higher, and it's easier to tell before it overflows now, so I think we're getting there. Okay, so we have 6 quarts minus whatever drippage we had. Well, let's go ahead and see what is our dip telling us. It's telling us it looks like a little bit below where we want to be at, but let me go ahead and clean this off and check it again. Okay, so we're right at the bottom of the hash marks. So I'll go ahead and put another half quart in, and we'll see what we look like after a half quart. Okay, so now we're right about halfway up the hash marks. I would like to be at the top of the hash marks, because I don't know if this burns oil, loses oil, what it does. So I'm going to put a little bit more in. Okay, so checking, we're actually a hair above the hashes now. Not enough that I think it's going to be a problem, but we are a hair over full, which is, you know, good considering the machine may leak. I'll go ahead and pull these out. That's a super helpful tip on there, and even though it's spilling oil now. I got the key in, got it turned on. I hear like it has power. The battery's been sitting for a couple days, so I don't know if we have the power to actually start this. Let's see. Yeah, we do. Okay, 1 second. Let's go ahead and turn this up for more throttle. I have no idea what's going on, so I went ahead and threw a battery trickle charger on it, and we'll see what it's like in a bit. So we're back a couple days later, and what's going on here is I had to wait for the rain to stop so I could put my battery charger on it. Go ahead and turn that off, pull these clamps off, and see if she will fire up. We're gonna see how this goes. Go ahead and turn that on. I don't know if this preheat button works, and whatever this is, we'll go ahead and connect it. Before we kill the battery, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with this. The first thing I checked is pulling this, and no fuel came out. So I'm willing to bet that this problematic wire came off again. So if we go ahead and prime up the fuel system, I'll have to turn the key into the on position, but I bet we just weren't pulling fuel through, and that's why we wouldn't start. I need to figure out how to stop this from going forward. Okay, I think I figured it out. So I was suspect of the connection of the fuel line, and I think I was correct in that. I went ahead and ran our trusty little red wire here, and since I couldn't get a good fuel connection back there, I went ahead and got it up here. So we have those exposed wires that when you put them together, they have a charge, and we can go ahead and put this onto there. So let me, I don't know if I have enough hands to do this. You guys are just gonna have to sit there. I have to hold this red wire against that exposed lead that I was showing you, and that gives power to the fuel pump. And then I should be able to start it really easy in the last 3 starts I've had. And then when I pull this off, it's like turning the key off and it goes away. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna have to replace the end on the fuel pump, but let's make sure that it works with camera, because we all know that's when everything goes bad. So I connect my fuel pump and I hit the start. And it's running. And I accidentally came off of it. But it starts running immediately, and as soon as that comes off, it stops. And it'll run. It stops. So I do think that our issue is in the line to the fuel pump. I just don't know if it's the tip or if it's the rest of the wire that runs off of the key up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I have a way to do the connection and replace the end of the wire, and we'll go from there. So what I've opted to do is I cut the end off that was plugging on there, since obviously it wasn't a good end. And we know that this end seems to hold on much better, and I can push it down a little more to make it even more firm. Now, even though this wire is pretty thick, a lot of this is heat shielding. The actual wire that's pushing the current is very small, and honestly, a pretty good comparison to what my little red wire is. So what I am going to do is put those two together using some splicers, or some connection pieces, and I'll crimp it down, and then we'll see if we have a good time starting, and that will tell me if it was just the end or if it's somewhere in the rest of the cable and I need to rerun the whole thing. I have a good crimped connection, and next step I'm going to go ahead and burn this down to help get a good tension seal on it. And then once I have this done, I will go ahead and give it a shot on startup. I also went ahead and took off the jumper cable since it seemed to start really easily. I do think the problem is not battery related at the moment. Historically, every time I try to start it while sitting here, I have to play with these, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it to go. But let's see what happens. That thing's so loud when it vibrates. But bang and it's on, so I think that was a problem that we either developed or had, but much better now. Still have that alternator light. Oil pressure light's good. I think we're doing pretty good overall. Yeah, you see if I pull this up, it gets a little bit of hydraulic fluid coming out of there. So that's definitely what that is. I don't know if we're gonna have to service that whole thing because up here looks pretty bent out. Sounds halfway solid running. I spilled a bunch of oil when I did the oil change, so I'm not really surprised it's smoking. Although the amount coming out of the exhaust does kind of concern me. If I rev it up and give it 15 seconds, it'll turn off, or it'll get better. So that's where we're gonna leave off on this buddy. Got the oil changed with the temporary filter. It does seem to be running more smoothly after the oil change, so I know that I just threw some oil in there that was not the correct weight. Don't know what was in it before. So definitely a chance that the right oil helped it. And from there, we now have the cylinder seal on the way. So next video will probably be replacing this seal up in this arm, in the piston, wherever it is, and then trying this out because my dogs want to test my fence and dig under my fence, and we're just going to make it fun by pushing a bunch of dirt up against the fence, a bunch of big rocks, and just kind of see what this skid steer can do while solving a problem that I have. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time.